David Duke, top of the arc. Here's Pip, guarded by Gillespie. Steps back, spins, fires! Woo! Pip Gates!
They get another crack. They'll go to their senior. And he lays it in. Two big buckets by Alpha Diallo.
He crushed it. It's a grand slam.
Down by 3. 5 seconds. Reeves for the tie. He got it.
Back to another episode of Behind the Dish Sports. I'm Ben Bellotti. I'm here with my co-hosts Robbie Cannon and Matt Marasco. And today we are joined by a very special guest, reporter for MassLive.com, Chris Cotillo. Chris, how are you today, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. So, Chris, we'll get started right away. You're a very successful reporter from a very young age. So, I want to start.
I wouldn't go that far, but if my parents paid you to say that, I appreciate it.
I mean, we obviously heard about you a little bit. We're all New England guys, so we follow New England sports. No, now you're the Sox beat writer. But I mean, what I noticed I didn't even realize it at first, but you broke two pretty big stories back in 2013. Ricky and Alcaso for $49 million to the Twins, and then the Doug Fister trade, and that landed you your first TV appearance on MLB Network. So I just want to start right there. What was that experience like? I'm guessing that's the thing that kind of propelled you into where you are right now.
Yeah, it was like a quasi family vacation to Disney, and that was what the other three people in my family did. And I did the winter meetings, which was really weird. I've been to the winter meetings every year since, and I think about how weird that was. Because that was my senior year in high school. I missed a week of school and had to call the principal because I was getting zeros on stuff, and it was just a really bizarre time, honestly. And I was on MLB Network, and I was honestly just shaking the whole time because I was in high school and didn't know what I was doing and hadn't even been on local cable access, and all of a sudden I was on that. So it was scary. I cringe when I see it now, mostly because of the weight I've gained since. But just also it was just an awkward performance. So, but yeah, obviously getting that platform, doing a few other TV things that winter was huge. That was really cool for my career. I think I gained tens of thousands of followers just from that appearance. I've almost lost all of those by doing this auction thing I'm doing in the last week, but tweeting incessantly. But that was great. I mean, I look back at that and it was the craziest senior year ever. I covered the World Series at Fenway in October, obviously, and so I did those games. Then would go to school the next day and come in late, and it was just this weird kind of almost double life thing that I really, really enjoyed. So that was a crazy time, and made me realize that I wanted to do this for a career and pursue journalism in college, and ended up obviously going into it once I graduated.
Right. So going into college, noticed you went to UNC. Was that a dream school the entire way, or was just a little research? You noticed, pretty good journalism, or how did you come about going to UNC?
No, it was always Notre Dame for me is my dream school. My cousin went there, so I grew up and I loved Samardzija and Brady Quinn those days for football. And I always wanted to go to a big sports school because I wanted that environment. And I was just so put off by the Manti Te'o thing that I couldn't. I'm kidding. But no, it was they didn't have a journalism school. When I Googled it, I realized that, and I was like, well, this kind of crushes what I've been thinking for the last 15 years or whatever. And so Carolina, I knew about. I didn't know enough. I didn't have a side in the rivalry or anything. I'm not a huge basketball guy. I just still don't love the NBA, but I'm a huge college hoops now for obvious reasons, and went down toward it, loved it, and it was just a quick, easy decision. So, great sports, obviously, football sometimes, basketball all the time. I really wanted that opportunity. They won the national championship my junior year, which was the coolest sports moment ever for me, even growing up in New England and seeing what I saw growing up. It was different, I think. But yeah, I loved it. There was no rhyme or reason to it really at the beginning, though.
Yeah, I'm sure a ton of cool experiences and a lot of opportunities came from with that huge sports atmosphere at UNC that really even propelled you even more. So, how difficult was it to balance trying, to keeping up like reporting and having a college workload at such a high like academic school?
Yeah, well, when I got there, I asked if I could do the program that they got in trouble for with the NCAA, that scandal where they took fake classes. I was trying to do that, but that wasn't allowed. So, um, and that never happened, I have to say. But no, I just, it was a cool mix, honestly, because I was able to be a journalism major and learn stuff during class that I could apply that day, and real stuff. Like I'd be in media law and then have a call from an agent threatening to sue me, and I'd know, from that day's class, maybe what rights I had or didn't, and stuff like that, or learn on the fly. Internships obviously are great for that. But while I was with SB Nation then, really, like, I was managing a site in MLB Daily Dish. I was doing all that stuff, and um, I would specifically not take classes if I knew you couldn't have your computer or phones in there, because I'd have to be on it. And kind of tuned in with the news all the time. Never went to games in person. I mean, I went to a couple Durham Bowl games, I guess, but that was more of a drinking thing than obviously work. And so it wasn't like I was covering games in person, but doing the insider thing on the side. So that was really cool. Like I said, being able to mix the learning with the actually doing it daily was really valuable the whole time.
Yeah.
So, quick question. Going back to the 2013 World Series, who were you covering that World Series for? And what was that kind of process like, being credentialed for that and getting to see those games?
Yeah, I was SB Nation. I was in. So I remember I was in the school newspaper, like, classroom that they used to print the paper and whatever, because I was involved in that. I was in college, but I was in high school, and I got an email, like, I just applied for the hell of it, and it said you've been accepted to cover all the World Series and ALCS games at Fenway. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And so I had never been credentialed for games before at Fenway, because they're very picky during the regular season. They try not. If they had their way, they wouldn't let me in now, but because I'm on the beat, they have to. But it was, kind of a free for all, because MLB was in charge of the credentialing, and I showed up for game one of the ALCS, and they asked for my ID because they need to see, like, are you actually on our list? And nobody knew who I was. And the woman kind of did a double take, and I turned 18 on October 13th, which was the end of game one, was on October 12th. And there's a rule, because I have all my credentials in here, there's a rule on all of them that you have to be 18 to be credentialed for these games, which there's definitely an SI for kids loophole, because those kids are always there. But I was not under that, so I was they were looking at the ID like, well, you're not 18. And we kind of just decided, like, well, by the end of this game, I'm going to be. So does that count that? And she did. So we still laugh about, the same lady from MLB PR. We always kind of like laugh about that, even 7 years later or whatever. But yeah, it was incredible. I mean, the Ortiz Grand Slam is the loudest I've ever heard a stadium, with the cop and that whole thing, and the celebrations, and when they clinched the World Series. I obviously, growing up as a huge fan of the Red Sox, I watched in 04 and 07, and now it's kind of, I look at the transition, like, of where my role has been through I was like a huge fan in 04 and 07, watched it here with my dad, loved it, was as big of a fan as you could have been. In 13, I was like kind of transitioning to a reporter. It was cool to be there, and I was still kind of in awe. And then in 18, I was like the crusty, all right, can we get this moving along type of, like, this is like, why are these playoff commercial breaks so long? Just get it over with. But it was still cool, like Dodger Stadium and all that stuff. And I was, in awe of watching a Dodgers Red Sox World Series in person. But you don't care who wins at that point. It's more about good stories and, personal stuff. So 13 was awesome, though. It was, like I said, that Ortiz home run moment, I was down behind the first base dugout, and that it'll be tough to beat that for the greatest sports moment. I've ever seen in person, because Grayson Allen never got punched in the face at any of the games I went to. So Ortiz Homer has to win out because of that.
That's
Chris,
awesome.
that's Chris. So you said that you went to the winter meetings throughout college.
Yeah.
What was that like? Probably the only college kid there, and then did any professors give you a hard time about going down there during probably what finals?
Yeah, it was a huge problem one time. Kind of surprised you even asked, but yeah. There's a lot of college kids that are job seekers, and usually like juniors and seniors who go, and it's kind of like it's bizarro world for those 4 days, because you see like so many people, like notable baseball people and Hall of Famers, like absolutely hammered for 4 days, and it's like really incredible. That was my big takeaway as a high schooler who didn't drink. I was like, this is unbelievable. There's obviously a lot of business that gets done, but after 9, it's like the whole baseball world converges at the bar. Like everybody, managers and GMs, and it's still weird 7 years later. But my freshman year in college, the meetings were in San Diego, which is like one of the best locations, one of the best hotels for it. They have perfect lobby, everything. That's where it was in December. So that was great. And I'd never been to California before, so it was cool. But of all things, I was taking a history of rock and roll class, and the final was on like Thursday, the last day of the winter meetings, or it was on Friday at like 11 a.m. I think. The winter meetings ended Thursday. So I asked my professor, and he said, well, of course, went to the university bylaws, which no one except him has ever read, and and was basically decided that work wasn't a good enough excuse to miss the final, and if I wasn't there to take the final, I get a 0 for 20% of my grade, which obviously was not. So I had to book a red eye back from San Diego, which I was going to study on about whatever, why Tom Petty's tattoos or whatever the hell we were talking about, and I had to fly back, and I like didn't sleep, and I took the final, and then I think I slept for like 24 hours after that, which is otherwise I would have just gone home. So I had to fly back to Chapel Hill. Talking about it like this many years later, it's one of the dumbest things of all time. But I had to fly back to Chapel Hill for like 12 hours to take the stupid rock and roll final. I don't have any recollection of any of the material. To preserve whatever B- or whatever I had in that, and then the next day I flew home to Boston for winter break. So that was pretty crazy.
That's brutal.
That's great. One thing I gotta ask at SB Nation, I know it's over at your resume. Checked out your LinkedIn. No, that's where you got member. You're now part of the Baseball Writers Association of America, which is awesome. So does that mean you get a Hall of Fame vote now?
You got to be in it for 10 years. This is my third.
Right.
So I'll have it in 7 years. We do have the yearly like American League Awards, and so you kind of like work your way up the totem pole and switch off. So Mass Live gets 1 vote a year. Last year, or in 2018, my partner Chris Smith had AL MVP, which was like the best one you can get, and then the cycle restarts. So my first vote was Manager of the Year, which was the managers probably care, but I don't think a lot of others do. And I actually voted in the order that it finished, so that made me feel great about it. Congratulations to Rocco Baldelli on the award. Glad I could help you with that, fellow New England guy. So, but yeah, Hall of Fame vote in 10 years is going to be a huge process, because people don't enjoy doing it anymore because of how much people bitch on Twitter about it. It's just like it's a constant. There's no right answer, obviously. There's people that are so passionate about it every January, and because everybody's bored and snowed in and wants to talk about baseball, and we get into these unbelievably minute stats about Tim Raines and all these guys from 15, 20 years ago, or I guess even longer than that. So that'll be an interesting process when it happens. So, but yeah, still 7 years away from me.
Yeah. Well, it's still awesome to even be thinking about that. You get that, and in advance, I apologize for being one of those people that bitch on Twitter about it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to release my ballot. I'm going to be one of the anonymous people just because of that.
Makes sense. Just a quick follow-up question. As a Red Sox guy and a future Hall of Fame voter, do you think Curt Schilling should get in, yes or no?
Yeah, I think he's gonna get in this year. I don't think whatever your politics are, like, yeah, it should not prevent you from being in the Hall of Fame. That character clause is the most kind of just general thing ever. I mean, steroid guys are going to start getting in, and then you look back and it's like we don't have 500 home run hitters in there like Palmeiro and guys who've already expired. So it's a really weird time. I'm glad that at least the classic steroid era guys are going to be out of it. I'm sure when I'm voting, the backlash about, let's say, Bregman or Altuve or one of those guys is going to be up. People are going to say, "Oh, the character clause, we can't have them in," or something like that. So I look forward to all those issues people are going to create in 7 years. But yeah, Schilling definitely in my book, and that will be decided long before I have a say.
Yeah. Just wanted to ask that question because I've talked to somebody else who also has a vote, and he was adamant about the character clause and went on a whole spiel about it. So I wasn't sure because to me,
Yeah,
she should be in, but I don't know.
yeah. There's people on the beat that will not vote for him because of it. So
Yeah.
But I think he was like 70% this year. So I'm sure there's like no good first ballot guys. So I'm sure he'll get in.
Yeah.
Right. And then you mentioned it earlier about jokingly saying a bunch of people are unfollowing you because of it. I'd argue some people are even following you because of it. You're now doing the Twitter auction, raising money for food banks and other COVID-related relief. Is this an idea that you came up with yourself, and you just want to expand a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's been my life. It's kind of dominated my whole life for the last 3 weeks. I got my bucket of shit that needs to go out, and like all the stuff that I have to mail, and so it's been crazy. It was like Easter Sunday. I was just sitting in here, and one of my colleagues challenged. It's a very stupid story, but there's this video of me imitating the Easter Bunny from when I was like 2 or 3 years old. I posted on Twitter. One of my colleagues, Matt Votor at Mass Live, said, "If you do that again right now and imitate that, then I'll donate $25 to a food bank." And I said, "Okay." And it's like 3 people wanted to match it, and I was like, "Oh, $100 for a food bank? Like that's really not that's not a big ask to do $100." And I thought, I'm not doing anything else. Is there a way I could make a difference or do something related to my job? And then I kind of like glanced over at the closet that was right there and realized that I had these binders of autographs, and put a couple up that night. And I thought it would, make. I thought honestly, I was thinking like in the range of $1,000 would be a cool donation for some of my things to go to. And then by the next day, Alex Cora jumped in and donated some signed shoes and was hitting me up and trying to promote it further, which was cool. And from there, it just blew up. I mean, there was a ton of items that have gone for more than $1,000. Last night, I had a Mike Trout signed car that went for $1,300, which was wild.
Insane.
The Section 10 experience, which everybody has seen, went for $1,500 each, which is absolutely absurd. Extremely appreciative to the people who donated, but like I've said, a paper asked me about it the other day, and I said I hang out with those guys for free, and they're not worth it. So it's funny that they have been. It's great that they donated the experience. The Red Sox jumped onto that. They donated a Bogarts jersey, and now my binders are pretty much empty. There's a couple things left, but it's a lot of my stuff's gone, and I mailed like 200 packages myself. My parents have been a big help on that. I'm back at home for the pandemic instead of at my apartment, which I'm paying for, which is unfortunate. But it's been really, honestly, like no joking, for once, like the most rewarding kind of 3 weeks of my life, just because it's been a lot of work, and it's been a full-time job almost in addition to the one I already have. But it's been so cool to see so many people come together. And like I've said, I'm the middleman in it. People have been donating. Mark Bertrand from 98.5 donated a ton of items the other day. People are coming out. EEI is working on something right now that I'm going to be posting. And Nesson, Tom Karen, Jerry Remy, and Eckersley did a Zoom call. People have just really opened up their wallets and donated. So we're closing on, I think, 52,000 right now, which is absurd. Like I've said, I might have lost that number in followers, but it's been worth it, just to give to a lot of food banks who obviously need it right now. And I think kind of the cool part is it's spread out to a ton of different charities all over the country. You know, the trout card was $1,300 for the Orange County Food Bank. Greater Boston Food Banks had a lot, and you know, it's beyond any goal I would have ever possibly come up with. So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like in the future. Obviously, the bulk of it is behind me, but it's been incredible to see so many people come together and so many people be generous, and it's been really cool.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
it's an awesome cause, and I mean, like you said, the people coming together. You can see that even other people are doing similar things, and you're helping them out, retweeting it. So it's just really awesome. All going to a great cause. We'll start. I know we're keeping you a little bit, so just one quick
That's
question.
fine. I got
have
nothing else
to.
to do.
All right. You mentioned the Section 10 experience. Just a quick follow up on that. Just to be clear, do you work for Mass Live or the Mexican Times?
I work for Mass Live. I decided to put that on my display here, and I got the Mass Live scarf on my display behind me. No Mexican flag. That is one thing that I like. I really pride myself on wit and and I find really witty, sharp, clever things funny. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's not even. I mean, I guess it comes from pronouncing my last name Cotillo, which it's not, and just deciding I work for a paper. There's like a real Mexican Times, and they're probably extremely confused, like I am. But I've spoken more Spanish on that show and the 8 words I've said when they call me for some stupid take than I have in my entire life. So it's yeah, I don't know where that came from. I think it's funny, and I'm playing along. I'm trying to get Bryn to make a shirt, which she has said she wants to do, but I and maybe we can do that for some food banks and stuff. That would be cool. But yeah, because I don't know why anyone else otherwise would want my face or my name on a shirt, but it's kind of taking a life of its own too, and I don't know why.
Yeah, we were joking earlier today that we got you on Cinco de Mayo, and that was the time.
Yeah, there you go. It's my dad's birthday too, so happy birthday, Dave.
Happy birthday.
So, but it's Cinco. It's I see to prove that my lack of affiliation, I haven't even thought about it. So, because even before this, I hate the taste of Corona, so I never really liked and I hate tequila, so I never really liked the holiday. So,
Yeah.
So that's with in college and stuff, because it was just there's never like a holiday dedicated to IPAs, which is unfortunate, but maybe someday.
There should be.
There should every day.
But just before we wrap up, do you mind if I just give you some quick hitter questions?
Yeah, like I said, I got all the time in the world.
All right, sweet. So, what's the favorite stadium you've ever covered a game at?
Fenway is always number one, just because it's the place that I grew up going to and call work now, which is cool. And Fenway is like every day when I go, it's still like you walk up and you're kind of it's that holy shit moment every day, which is cool. And I hope I never lose that. And then when we get back there in 2028 or whenever we can get back in there, it's going to be like that again, I'm sure. My personal favorite other than Fenway, which nobody agrees on, is Coors Field. I think it's incredible.
Coors Field.
It is incredible. Yeah.
The Globe did their ballpark rankings yesterday, and they had nobody I don't think had it in their top 3, which is absurd. I've been to 20 or 21, and Coors is the views, the brick, the whole thing. It's awesome.
So what is your top 3?
Yeah, I would say Fenway, but then Fenway's in its own category, and then the other 3 I probably do Coors, Dodger, and probably Camden and Petco tied in that 3rd slot. But there's some other ones. Seattle's awesome. Kansas City's better than you'd think it would be. And then the Trop is last out of everything, as always.
Yeah. So what's the one ballpark that you haven't been to that you want to get to?
There's probably 2 answers to that one.
Okay.
One, so I've been on the beat almost 2 full years, the last 4 months of 18 and then all last year, and we split the road travel 50-50. For some reason, my partner Chris Smith has done every Toronto trip since I've been on the beat. He loves going up there, and it's unbelievable that I've never been to Canada, so obviously never been to Rogers Center. It's not like I'm missing an unbelievable ballpark, but being in the division, I would have thought at some point I would have been there. So that's one that's just like irritatingly on my list because it just seems like it's so easy and I haven't done it. And the first 2 trips of this year, before this all gets screwed up, I was scheduled to miss those too. So it's like he owns that. Wrigley is the one that I was really, really looking forward to going to. I was on that scheduled to be on that trip because the Red Sox play there only once every like 6 years. Of course, it's this year, so I'll just never go, I guess. I was scheduled to go on Chicago to Anaheim, which is a weird road trip, but I was going to do the whole thing in like a month. That was when I was really looking forward to. So yeah, probably Wrigley for the field and Toronto just so I can check it off and end this madness of not being able to go to a divisional park.
Gotcha. So what's one crazy experience that you've had, whether it's at a stadium, kind of behind the scenes, whether it's coming to like your president or other reporters, anything like that? Any other stories that pop in your head?
I mean, it's all the time. I don't get like starstruck around guys who are on the team now just because of the nature of my job. You can't, and I didn't grow up rooting for these guys, and nobody really comes in from other teams that are that way. But still, when it's like the 04 guys come in, I get, it's always like that just because I was 8 or 9 when that was going on. And if it was Brady or Belichick or one of those guys, I'd be the same way, or Roy Williams or whatever. I was about to say Tyler Hansbrough, but I really don't care. I saw him on the street once in Chapel Hill. Oh, okay. When I was during the 13 World Series, I was sitting in the dugout and I was like on my phone. Probably, I think my Snapchat story was just like a 6-hour. Everything I did was just that day was just on my story because everything was so cool to me at the time. But Ortiz came and sat down next to me in the dugout and was like lacing up his cleats before a World Series game. And I think we were the only 2 people in the dugout, and I was kind of like, I looked over and I was like, this is unbelievable. And he kind of just knew that I was about to, start crying or whatever the hell 18-year-old me was about to do. And he was like, what's up, man? I was like, yeah, good luck in your World Series. I mean, what am I supposed to say? So that was great. That was one that still sticks out. And but a lot of really, really cool stuff and random running. My other one that is weird one. I was at the hotel at the All-Star game in San Diego, and the players were all like circulating through the lobby, and players all came in with this like confused look in their face, and I was like, why do they all look like this? Like, what is going on outside? So I went outside, and there was this guy who looked like he was like had a really rough night out. He was like slouched against this this pole. And I was like, this is, and all the like, there's a huge crowd of autograph seekers who are all screaming like with their stuff out for him to sign. And I was like, what is going on is this guy a homeless guy? Or it was Charlie Sheen. And I was like, this is truly one of the weirdest moments of my life. So he finally like got on his feet and came into the hotel, and I got a selfie with him. Like, he wrapped his arm around me. He was like all very, very excited and out of it. And I was like, I got a selfie with him. I was just like, that's all the players had the exact same reaction. Like, what is going on? So that was one that I would have never expected. And then I don't know why this one popped in, but if we're talking crazy kind of work related experience, I was flying to Tampa for Red Sox Rays series in September when they got eliminated. And those games all went 4 hours after they'd been eliminated, which is one of baseball's cardinal rules, is that if a team's been eliminated, the games are at least 4.5, which is awesome. And I get on the plane, and Billy Ray Cyrus is just sitting there. He's like the only one on the plane with the huge like cowboy hat on, and I was like, am I on drugs? Those are much different type stories, but the Ortiz one I still think about that one as being cool. And even the awesome thing about Ortiz is if you're ever with someone that he knows, or at least kind of partially knows, he acts like he's known you his whole life, because he's met so many people and so many people consider themselves friends with him, and he's so friendly that he'll just like act like he knows you. So I was with a couple of guys who covered him in Fort Myers. We were outside the clubhouse when he like showed up he pops in and out of camp. It was during spring training. I was with Rob Bradford and Ian Brown, who had covered him, and like he knows them. And so, what up, Rob? What up, Ian? Hugs him, the whole thing. And he keeps coming down the line. He's coming over to me. I'm like, this is what's about to happen here. He daps me out. What's up, man? Good to see you. Yeah, David. Yeah, you don't know me. I mean, he's like, you're the kid who was shitting your pants in the dugout when I was getting ready for that World Series game, right? But no, that's always cool. That kind of stuff when I see the guys from like my childhood, that's always the best part.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All three of those stories were insane.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who's your favorite player that you ever interviewed?
What was that?
Who's your favorite interview you've ever done?
Interview on the current team or
Anytime.
You're cutting out. On the Red Sox, there's the guy that's like the go-to for all of us is Bogarts. He's a really good talker. I really enjoyed Cora. I really did. As an interview, he's thoughtful and honest. Renicki's okay. It's just a little bit different because none of us are as familiar with him, and he's 40 years older than me, so it's a little bit harder to connect just naturally. I think Cora's really good with young people. He's only 43 or 44. And on the Red Sox, there's some guys that are not good interviews. They're not easy. You don't get anything out of them. Not just the pitcher they traded to the Dodgers, but also the outfielder. He's a nice guy, but he just doesn't give you much. So I was always struggle with Mookie Price. If you want Price stories, you can call Evan Drellick of The Athletic for that. So, but yeah, those are some of the better guys in the clubhouse. Sale's really good. He's really honest. But I think talking about specific like interviews and stories I'll just think about this spring training because it was, I guess, 6 weeks ago. It feels like 6 years ago now because I've been cooped up in this house. But like everybody else, I did an interview with Michael Chavis, who I really like. He's like, I'm only a couple months in age separated from him, and we just talked about like, when he came up, he was, as I'm sure you guys know, like he got in front of the camera and he was always talking and excited and a really good interview and I don't know how clubhouses work that well because I'm in them for the hour that we're allowed to stand there and the players can give us a dirty look for the hour a day, our designated time in the CBA. But I don't know how it works behind the scenes. And like, I always thought like Chavis, these must have been like, what does this guy talk? Why is he talking so much as a rookie? Like this guy needs to shut up. Like he's enjoying it too much. He's not like playing by the unwritten rules and stuff. And so I asked him about it. I was like, were there times that they just told you just like, man, shut up? And he was really honest. Like, yeah, I have to learn my place in here. Like I wonder how there's dynamics. Mitch Moreland's been around the game for 10 years. He's a nice guy. And ask me about this in a minute. He gave a colleague of mine the best quote I've ever heard in the clubhouse. But I just wonder about how like a guy like Chavis finds himself, and if there was moments where he had to slow down on social media or curtail some of that. The other one, I did an interview with Tanner Houck, pitching prospect who has an adoption charity. I thought it was really cool. Minor leaguers don't usually have charities because their platform's not big enough, but like he donates $25 for every strikeout to an adoption charity because his sister's adopted and he was really passionate about that and turned that into a really long feature. So I really like that story. Spring training is a good opportunity other than the long days and the early wake up calls, which is totally different than the rest of my year. But you get a lot of really good access to do some human interest stuff with them. And when they turn out well, it's like that Houck story. It's really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just to jump back.
Oh yeah. So my colleague Matt Votor, our columnist, came in to do a story on how the Reds, like when the Bruins were in the finals against the Blues, which ended really in a great way. My colleague came in to do a story about asking the Red Sox, like, what's it like to support the other teams? And one of those types of, they were wearing Bruins hats in the clubhouse. And there are some guys that are really into it. Like Benintendi is like a huge Blues fan for some reason. We actually like he watches all the games and was really into the Blues, which is weird. And then there's some guys who are big kind of hockey fans or whatever. And so Matt goes up to Moreland, and because he's available all the time and he's easy to approachable. Goes, Mitch, how has it been seeing the Bruins and being able to support another team in town and all this stuff? He goes, man, hockey? You're asking me about hockey? He goes, yeah. He goes, man, I'm from Mississippi, where I come from. The only ice we've got's in our sweet tea.
That's awful.
That's great.
That's gold. I mean, truly. I gotta tweet that out. That's number one for me in 2.5 years. Like, how do you just walk up and get gold like that?
That's insane. What's the favorite city that you've traveled to for your job?
San Diego. I've mentioned San Diego like 8 times on the show. It's like an awesome city. I don't like New York, so I'm not gonna say that because I just like generally don't.
Yep.
And it's just whatever. But I like DC a lot when they play the Nationals, and then the All-Star game was there like within the same week. I was there for like 11 out of 14 days, which is incredible because I love that. And then I will pitch this because I don't often get a platform to do so. The Major League Baseball needs a team in Charlotte. It's the best city for young people in America. If there was an MLB team there, I would live there. All my roommates from school do, so I'm there all the time when travel is allowed. And it would be awesome if MLB put a team there because that would be – it's such a great baseball state. So I wish they had one there too.
That'd be awesome.
I could get behind that.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. That just went through my little list of favorite questions there. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Chris. Thanks for taking the time. I applaud you for your efforts on Twitter and the auctioning and everything. So keep that up. Keep being an awesome beat writer and just keep doing you, man. This was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.